weekend to all. Welcome to the program that analyzes the week that was and helps position you for the week ahead. I'm Maria Bartiromo. Operation Economic Fury squeezing Iran and its economy, reordering the global energy map as the pressure is starting to break the oil cartel. The United Arab Emirates officially pulling out of OPEC, breaking from production limits, preparing to ramp up oil output and bypass the Strait of Hormuz with new pipeline investments. President Trump calling it a win for America.
I think it's great. I think it's great. Look, I know him very well, Mohammed, and very smart. And he probably maybe wants to go his own way. That's a good thing. I think ultimately it's a good thing for getting the price of gas down, getting oil down, getting everything down. They have it all. He's a great leader, actually. So, no, I'm okay. They're having some problems in OPEC.
This after the president met with top oil executives at the White House on Tuesday, pushing for more production and lower prices for American consumers. The chairman and CEO of Chevron, Mike Wirth, was in the meeting, and he told me what went on Friday. Watch.
The U.S. is not only the biggest producer of oil and gas now, but it's also the biggest exporter of oil and gas. We're seeing dozens of large crude-carrying vessels show up at the Gulf of America to load and take supplies in large amounts to Asia. The U.S. is sending out liquefied natural gas at the maximum capacity that we possibly can, and we are helping meet the demands of the world. And so I think the U.S. energy industry is standing tall during this moment of need.
Joining me now is Florida Congressman Greg Steube. The mainstream media is calling this an energy crisis, Congressman. But besides temporarily paying more at the pump, the U.S. is actually not facing any shortage. Thanks for joining us. Give us your reaction.
Yeah, President Trump is right, and we're doing everything that we can to open up the domestic production of oil and gas. It's at record numbers. There recently was reporting that the president signed a deal with Canada to get more oil into the country, into our refineries. The big crux and the challenge is getting more refineries in the United States. We have plenty of crude. It's getting it refined and getting it to the gas stations. Hopefully, we're looking at doing away with regulations to be able to quickly bring those up. But it's billions of dollars to be able to invest in those, and it takes a long time through the regulatory process. So we have to build our refining capabilities to be able to meet the needs domestically and protect ourselves from international pressures that you may see.
Yeah, it's a great point. They also is a need for Congress to codify some of those executive orders that the president put in place, for example, like with permitting. But I want to get your take on what the priorities are going into the midterms. We had a big win for Florida Republicans this week. State lawmakers passing a new voting map, which could result in 4 additional Republican seats in Congress. The redrawn map impacting 2 districts in South Florida, Tampa and Orlando. But Democrats are slamming the move. They're warning this fight is headed straight to the courts. Watch this.
You are destroying democracy with this vote. The people of Florida deserve better. Not one of our constituents asked for this, not one. Shame on this House today.
No comments on what went on in Virginia, Congressman, in terms of a Democrat win. Your reaction to the impact on Florida and the midterm elections?
Yeah, and no comment on the entire Northeast United States, where it's like all Democrat districts, even though like 40% of those states have Republicans that live in them. So we're the time of this is great because of the U.S. Supreme Court's decision that just verified the unconstitutionality of these racially gerrymandered districts. So it actually emboldens southern states. I think these southern states need to act quickly. We obviously only have a 2 or 3 vote majority in the House right now. So now you have been told by the United States Supreme Court that these racially gerrymandered districts are unconstitutional. So I would encourage other states, not just Florida, like what you're seeing happen here, to redistrict before the midterms. Louisiana is doing it based on the Supreme Court decision. We should net at least 1 or 2 seats there. But if Alabama and Georgia and all of these different southern states acted now to repeal unconstitutionally gerrymandered districts, it would bode very well for the Republican caucus.
And how do you feel about the House's chances on holding on to the majority in the midterm elections?
Well, it helps considerably. I mean, if we are able to pick up these 4 additional seats in Florida, the last time we redistricted, that 4-seat majority, I say, comes from the great state of Florida when we were able to pick up 4 more. So if other states are able to pick this up, you see Democrats do this all across the country, and they've done this for decades. They've done it in California. Yes. They do it in New York. They do it in Illinois. They do it where they have the power to do it. And then when they do it, it's called democracy. But when we do it, it's illegal. So the hypocrisy is pretty thick up in Washington, but our southern states, now that you've been told by the United States Supreme Court that those racially gerrymandered districts are unconstitutional, should redistrict before these upcoming midterms.
All right, let me switch gears. You made a big move this week to keep American land out of the enemy hands, pushing through an amendment to the Farm Bill that bans adversaries such as China and Russia from acquiring U.S. farmland. Now, the Farm Bill is headed to the Senate with reports that it's already facing headwinds. Tell us about your amendment, and why do you think there's pushback in the Senate?
Yeah, this is a huge national security risk. We should not allow the Chinese Communist Party to buy millions of acres of land around our military installations, strategically in our country. It's 46 million acres that are owned by foreign interests right now in the United States, and I want to be able to stop that, to protect America, protect our military installations. And you're right, it's now going to go to the Senate, and we know the Senate likes to chop stuff up because they won't get rid of the filibuster, so they need 60 votes to pass this bill. I hope this is one of the provisions that stay there. I would imagine that Democrats also don't want the Chinese Communist Party next to our military installations, but you never know these days. But hopefully this will stay in as it goes in the negotiations in the Senate.
And is that the main reason that they want to buy up farmland in America, to surveil military installations? Is this for surveillance?
So it's a piece of that. It's part that, but it's also part they want to feed their people and not be reliant upon our farmers and ranchers. So they're buying land in the United States, good farmland, to be able to produce corn, to be able to produce swine, and then be able to feed their people off our land. So it's one national security piece, but the other is to provide food sources to their people, where that food source should be protected right here in America to feed Americans and not be shipped off to the Chinese Communist Party to feed their people.
And by the way, in terms of the surveillance piece of it, are there surveillance equipment, cameras, et cetera, on some of the farm equipment? Is that how they do it?
Well, they'll set up their different surveillance infrastructure right next to military installations in this land that they own. They obviously try to hide what they're doing, but it's very clear that there is a strategic purpose and a national security purpose to try to steal what's going on and surveil what's going on our military installations.
Wow. That's incredible. Congressman, great work. We will be watching your work as we continue. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.